sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityurma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness unto light, lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Om Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurti Namaha. I was thinking, the chant that we do, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness to light, lead us from death to immortality. Now think of the lake meditation, which I hope we are all doing. When we look at the brilliant reflection of the colors and all in the lake, what's unreal there? It's actually the reflection. It's not that there are trees and the leaves and the sky and clouds and birds in the lake. When we realize that actually there aren't those things, actually it's just the lake. How do you experience it? Tree, leaves, sky, clouds, birds. That's what you experience, that's what you see. But when we know by knowledge that it is the lake, we have gone from the unreal to the real. When we think, this is the world I'm inhabiting, good and bad, big struggles, problems, unreal. When I realize all of it is appearing in one limitless spirit, one shining consciousness, gone from the unreal to the real. How have you gone? You will still keep seeing the same thing. That's important. It's not that you will see something different. But by the eye of knowledge, we have moved from the unreal to the real. And then from darkness to light. Darkness was darkness, not the darkness of night. The ignorance in which one might think that there are trees and plants and leaves in that lake. We don't see the lake as a lake. And the moment of knowledge, when we get the knowledge, and it is shown that it's a lake, it's just water, though it appears to be a forest. So that movement from the ignorance to the knowledge, that is movement from darkness to light. That's what Dakshinamurti is doing for us. And then from death to immortality. See, if we are stuck on the leaves and the plants, and we will be in a world of continuous change and ups and downs, from spring to the verdant summer, to the glorious fall, to the bare branches of twigs of winter and snow and ice. All that will appear in the lake. But if we know that it is water, water, water throughout, no matter what appears in the lake, no matter what the condition of the forest which appears in the lake, it's just water throughout. We have moved from death to immortality. It's the same reality under all conditions. No matter what happens, birth and aging and death, the ups and downs of the mind, the unhappiness, the pleasures and pains in the mind, it is one consciousness, awareness, one light throughout. Then we have moved from death to immortality. Now, verse number 3. In this verse, we will conclude something that started in the first verse. In this verse, we will conclude something that started yesterday in the evening, the first session. First session, second session, and this is the third session. First verse, second verse, third verse. In this verse, we will move from analysis of who am I or what am I, verse number 1. What is all this? This universe, verse number 2. 2, what I am and what this is one and the same thing. Tattvamasi, you are that, verse number 3. The identity, the great identity. Verse number 3 is the point which Vedanta wants to emphasize, which Vedanta is moving us towards. The great teaching, you are that, Tattvamasi. Now let us read. Yasyaiva sfuranam sadatmakam asatkalparthagam bhasate sakshat tattvamasiti vedavachasa yo bodhayatyashritan yas sakshat karanat bhavetna punaravritti bhavambho nidho tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshinamurti. To him in the effulgent form facing the south, Shiva, whose light, which is existence itself, shines forth, entering the objects which are almost non-existent. To him incarnate in the Guru, who instructs the disciples in the Vedic text, thou art that. To him who being realized, there will be no more return to the ocean of samsara. To him, Shiva, be this salutation. Again, a very beautiful verse. So the first line summarizes the teaching of the second verse. Yasyaiva sphuranam sadatmakam asat kalparthagam bhasate. What is this universe? That was the quest in the second verse. What is this universe? It's an appearance. The things which appear are almost non-existent. They are like the magician's magic. They are jagat mithya, appearance of the world. Like a magic show. Again, using Buddhist language, Tibetan Buddhist language. A magical display on the primordial ground. What is the primordial ground? Dakshinamurti Stotra, Dakshinamurti, pure consciousness. What is the magical display? This. Exactly like the lake and the forest. The forest in the lake, there's no forest in the lake, but it appears. So the forest in the lake is like a magical display on what? In the waters of the lake. Similarly, this universe is a magical display in what? In pure being, in pure consciousness, Satchit, existence awareness. What is that existence awareness? Brahman. Why is it appearing in this form as the universe? Maya. How is it appearing? What theory of causality? What's the cause? What's the effect? It is vivartavada, apparent transformation. Not a new thing which has actually been produced. So a dualistic school might adopt the asatkaryavada, the Vaisheshika theory. A real universe has been produced by God. There's a separate God, there's a separate universe, and God produced this universe. Like a potter produced a pot. The Sankhyas and many of the dualistic, the devotional schools of Vedanta, Vishishtadvaita, Shuddhadvaita, Dvaitadvaita, Achintya Bhedaved, they all have some variety of Parinamavada. The effect was pre-existing in the cause, and the cause was transformed into the effect. Like the seed is transformed into the sprout, ultimately into the tree. Like the egg of the peacock hatches and is transformed into the glorious peacock. That is Parinamavada, transformation. Brahman is transformed. God becomes the universe, so to say. And that has attended with a huge amount of issues. But then God gets infected by change and destruction and all of that. And in contrast to that, Vivartavada. It is one existence consciousness bliss through and through. It's one lake through and through, although it appears like a forest. It's one existence consciousness bliss through and through, although it appears as a universe. So it says here, look at the verse. Yasyeva sphuranam. So sphuranam is appearance, shining forth. Not transformation. Look at the language he uses. Yasyeva sphuranam. That pure consciousness who is shining forth is this world. What's the status of this world? See, seed is real and the plant which comes from the seed is also real. But here, it is Brahman which is real. Sadatmakam is existence itself. But this world which appears is asat kalparthagam, is almost non-existence. Almost non-existence. Almost non-existence in what sense? Remember, you can still see it. You can experience, you can see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it. You can use it. You can have a cup of coffee, for example. And you can use language to refer to it. We know what it means, what the words mean. A person is sitting and listening to a talk. what the word a person means, what is sitting, what is listening, what is a talk, all those things, language is possible. Linguistic use is possible. You can refer. You can use it in transactions. A car will work. Which appearance shouldn't work. No, it will work. Within the movie, everything works. Within the dream, everything works. Still, it's a movie. Still, it's a dream. Still, this is an appearance. An appearance of what? Of existence consciousness. And the first verse already told us, we are that existence consciousness. That's us. Yasyaiva spuranam sadatmakam. This is very profound. Here we will enter into the depths of Sureshwara commentary on Dakshinamurti Stotra. Remember Sureshwara, one of the disciples of Shankaracharya, wrote the Manasollasa commentary. We'll just taste it a little. See what does he do with these verses. See how he analyzes it. So Sureshwara starts with a question. An opponent, maybe a disciple or an opponent, raises a doubt here. What's the question? I will chant the verse and give the translation and explain. It's an objection. It's a question. The person who's asking the question doesn't agree with this with this description of the universe. Satta spuratte bhaveshu kuta agatya sangate bimbadi darpana nyayat itham prichan prabodhyate. How have existence and light come to be conjoined with all existing things? Thus questioning on the analogy of mirror and reflection, the disciple is enlightened by the third stanza. So the third verse is an answer to this question. But what is the doubt? The disciple says, all right, so according to you, Brahman alone is real, and this world is names and forms, very much like the forest in the lake. So these are just names and forms and language and usage. But the stuff of it, the reality of it, existence awareness, that comes from Brahman. But it's very much like a reflection in a mirror. In the mirror, when you see the city, in the mirror there are no buildings or people or parks or places. They are just reflections, and their reality is the reality of the mirror. They appear like that because the reality there is the mirror. The reflections in a mirror, like a city in a mirror. He says, it doesn't work. Why? Why not? The existence consciousness are formless. How can they appear in names and forms? How can they be reflected? How can names and forms in this world borrow existence consciousness? One example often given in Vedanta is fire and the iron ball. So imagine in a foundry, there's a red hot iron ball. And Vedanta says, and the example is that the red hot iron ball, actually there are two things there. There is fire or heat, which has entered into the iron ball and makes it glow red and makes it very hot. So the heat and the light have come from the fire. And the round shape and the heaviness have come from the iron. So you have a round, heavy, glowing, hot iron ball there. The two things have become mixed up there. The fire has entered into the ball and now gives it you have the experience of a red hot glowing iron ball. Similarly, Vedanta says, just like here, there is one existence awareness. And then there are these names and forms. And the existence awareness enters into these names and forms, filling it out as it were into this universe. So now what do you have? You don't have just names and forms. You don't have just appearance. You have names and forms and activities with existence. It feels solid. It exists. And awareness. We are able to experience everything. Existence and awareness seem to go together. So existence and awareness have entered into the universe of names and forms like fire entered into the iron ball. As in the red-hot glowing iron ball, there are two entities. Fire, detectable by the glow and the heat. And the iron ball, detectable by the weight and the shape. Similarly, in this universe of experience, there are two entities, Brahman and the names and forms and activities. Names, forms and activities, Maya. Nama, Rupa, Vyavahara. Brahman, existence, awareness. Every experience you will see there is existence, there is awareness. In every experience. The sense of being and being aware also. And there are varieties of names, forms and activities going on. Names, forms and activities come from Maya. They are almost non-existent. But they seem to exist because existence awareness has entered into them. This is an example given. The fire has entered into the iron ball. Stephen Hawking, interesting question. Physics ultimately aims to describe this universe at its most fundamental level through a set of mathematical equations. Then Stephen Hawking, I think it was him or Steve Weinberg, one of them, UT Austin, he asked that question, but who is it who breathes fire into the equations? What breathes? Why should it exist at all? There's nothing in the equations which makes it necessary that it will exist. So what gives existence to this set of equations, that there's actually an universe which answers to that set of equations? What breathes fire into the equations? What breathes fire into that iron ball? It is fire itself has entered. What breathes fire into this universe? Existence awareness. This is what the disciple attacks. He says, for fire can come into contact with the iron ball. Both are material entities. But existence awareness is not a material entity, not a thing with a form which can come into contact with names and forms of the universe. Even consciousness, it cannot be reflected in the mirror of names and forms. Consciousness is formless. You see the leaves and all, it can be reflected in that water because the leaves have color and form. That's why they can be reflected. Even the sky has a color which can be reflected there. But if you say something formless like an idea, it can't be reflected in the water. Far less something which seems so abstract as existence awareness. So this is the question. It's a good question, but it's a question basically attacking the city in the mirror example, my lake in the forest in the lake example, fire in the iron ball example. These examples, they don't work. They work with two objects, two kinds of material entities, but not with a formless thing like pure consciousness or pure being and a material world. How will you connect them? And you are saying it is connected? Because existence awareness has entered into this world, giving it, filling it out, giving it sense of reality. How? Then he answers. He says this third verse is an answer to that. The first line of the third verse. Whose shining forth, whose appearance is of the form of existence awareness, filling out almost non-existent names and forms. How? Now I'm reading out Sureshwara Acharya's verses. This one goes on up to 12:15, right? 12:15 is lunch. Asat kalpeshu bhaveshu jadeshu kshananashishu asat kalpeshu bhaveshu jadeshu kshananashishu astitvam cha prakashatvam nityat sankramatishwarat. The existence and light in all phenomenal things which are insentient, momentary and almost non-existent proceed from the eternal Ishvara and become conjoined with them. Then the third one, we'll do both of them together. Atma satyeva satyesham bhavanam nattatodhika tathaiva spuranam chaisham natmaspuranatodhikam. These things have their being in the being of the Atman and no more. And so also the light by which they shine is the light of the Atman and no more. Okay, let me give you the gist of the answer. What Sureshwara is giving here and what he says Shankara is trying to say. Before we dive deep into it, because there are profound depths here. The gist of the answer is mirror and city reflected in the mirror, iron ball and fire, or lake and the forest, if I may say so. These are examples, don't take them too seriously, all that is being said here is one thing is appearing as another. There is not something being reflected in anything else, nothing coming into contact with anything else, no forest appearing in the lake, none of that. It is just one thing appearing as another. It is Atman appearing as the world. It is the rope appearing as the snake. Where does this world get its existence? If you say it borrows, it is reflected from, it is from the Atman, from Brahman, then all these issues will come. How is it borrowed? Do they come in contact? Are they reflected? Reflection theory, contact theory, all have their difficulties. But what he is saying here is, Brahman alone appears. The existence of the world is literally the existence of Brahman. The existence of the snake, when you see the snake, it seems to exist. That's why we get scared. The existence of the snake is literally the existence of the rope. It's not that the existence of the rope enters into the snake or is reflected in the snake or borrowed by the snake. That's a way of putting it. Just increases confusion. The rope appears as the snake. Therefore, since the rope exists, the snake seems to exist. That's all. The existence of Brahman is the existence of this world. The existence of this world belongs to Brahman, not to the world, because the world doesn't exist by itself. That's all that is being said here. Okay. But to get to that deep dive, he says here in the second verse, Sureshwaracharya, first, kshananasheshu, momentary, ever-changing, transient, impermanent world. Look at the impermanent world. This impermanent world is an object, jada, insentient. And this insentient, impermanent world is not real. It's an appearance. An appearance must always be the appearance of something real. The reality is existence, Brahman. So this world is an appearance of Brahman. Therefore, the existence of this world is the existence of Brahman. Let me repeat that. Kshananashishu, momentary world. Momentary, ever-changing world. Things are born, things die. At the atomic level, the subatomic level, it's incredibly fast. Things popping in and out of existence. At our level, slower. At the cosmic level, glacially slow. But things are coming into being and disappearing. Gitanjali, Rabindranath Tagore says that the leaf which falls from the tree and falls into the lake and setting out gentle ripples. These ripples go out into the stars and planets. These ripples means these ripples of change. These stars and this cosmos is also changing like that. There is a birth and an aging and a death. So change is continuous in this cosmos, momentary. And then Sureshwara says, momentary objects, changeful objects, must be objects to consciousness. And these objects to consciousness must be unreal, appearances. If they're appearances of something. That something is existence itself, Brahman. And therefore the appearances, the existence of the appearances must be the existence of Brahman itself. Now, some of you are looking puzzled. I said three things. Sureshwara said three things. Impermanent world. The world is an object to consciousness. And therefore it is unreal. Impermanent, therefore object, therefore unreal. We might ask, wherefore? What's going on underneath? You have to unpack it. You have to write a Sureshwara's sub-commentary to Shankaracharya's Dakshinamurti. You have to write a sub-commentary to it. To unpack it. There's a lot going on here. Let's follow this. First of all, he starts with something we cannot dispute. Things change in the world. Birth and death, creation, destruction, change is there in the world. Now, let's take the example of heat and fire and heat. Let me give an example to make it easy. Then we'll go to existence, which is a pretty heavy philosophical category. So the classic example is that fire, you heat up a potato, the potato is hot. But the heat of the potato does not belong to the potato. It belongs to the boiling water. From the boiling water, the potato which was cold has now become hot. Hot potato. But if you serve it, after some time, if it remains on the plate, it will again become cold. So this potato gained heat and lost heat, showing thereby the heat did not belong intrinsically to the potato. If a property is gained, a quality is gained, an attribute is gained and lost, it's not intrinsic to that entity, which gains and loses that attribute. Even the boiling water does not have intrinsic heat. It's boiling because of the hot pan beneath. If you switch off the fire, the water will become cool. It will stop boiling. So water also borrowed that heat and shared some of it with the potato. It borrowed that heat and it lost that heat because it's not intrinsic to the water. Water is not intrinsically hot. The pan also, not intrinsically hot. When it's in your kitchen shelf, it's not hot. It's only on the fire, on the stove, on the fire, it's hot. So it has borrowed its heat from the fire. How do you know? Because it lost it. It became hot, became cold. Water became hot, became cold. Potato became hot, became cold. They have all borrowed. Where did the pan get its heat from? From fire. From the fire, the pan borrowed heat. The fire itself, does it become hot and does it become cold? No. Thereby showing the fire, the heat of the fire is intrinsic to the fire. Because it is not that the fire was cold and then it became hot and then it becomes cold again. No. As long as the fire is there, it's hot. All this is just a way of trying to show there's something called an intrinsic property or attribute or characteristic. And something that is extrinsic or borrowed. The feature of an extrinsic characteristic or property is it comes and goes. It can be gained and lost. The intrinsic characteristic is that it will not be gained, it will not be lost. It will be there as long as the entity which holds it is there, that property will be there. Is this clear, the fire and heat thing? It can be borrowed, it can be lost. The sign of it not being intrinsic is it comes and goes. It's gained and lost. Now instead of heat, think of existence. Little caveat here. It's not relevant to most of us. If you are philosophically pure, in the sense untrained. If your mind has been polluted by philosophy, then you will say, but existence is not a property. We'll deal with that later. But suppose existence is a property. Now, let me ask you, if something comes into existence, is born, and goes out of existence, dies, something is produced and destroyed, that means existence is not an intrinsic property of that thing. We are born and we die. These bodies are born and they die. Therefore, bodies do not have intrinsic existence. This table is produced and one day it will be destroyed. Therefore, the table doesn't have intrinsic existence. It borrows its existence. So, the sign of borrowed existence is birth and death, production and destruction. Production and destruction, birth and death is the sign of borrowed existence. What will be the sign of intrinsic existence? It will never be born, it will never die. Immortal. Immortal. Now, Sureshwara says, take a look at the world. The world is continuously changing. Things are born, things die. Everything, from the tiniest, fastest change to the most cosmic level of changes. Things are born and they die. They come into existence, pop out of existence. Therefore, showing all the things of this world do not have intrinsic existence. It's borrowed from somewhere. Where must it be borrowed from? It must be borrowed from something which has intrinsic existence. Because it cannot be an endless system of borrowing and lending. There must be somewhere which possesses heat intrinsically, fire. Then only everything else can borrow. Similarly, there must be something which intrinsically has existence. Then only other things can borrow existence. The thing which has intrinsic existence, there must be such a thing, that one is called Sat, being itself, existence itself in Vedanta. A thing which has intrinsic existence. Just look at the world. Things exist. but they exist temporarily. This temporary existence is a sign of borrowed existence. Borrowed existence is a sign that there must be some permanent intrinsic existence. Otherwise you can't borrow, endlessly borrow. So that permanent intrinsic existence is Sat, pure being. Another name for that is Brahman. So, all things which are born and die, they are borrowing existence from Sat, from Brahman. These are all living on borrowed existence. Sri Ramakrishna put it this way: all the potatoes and the brinjals and all are dancing in the pot. They're dancing, the bubbling and dancing. But it's not their energy. It's the energy. It's because a fire has been lit below them. Similarly, we are all dancing. We are all doing so many things. We think we are very great. Beneath us is the fire of Brahman. That's why we have existence. Now, Brahman is also consciousness, awareness, consciousness, Sat Chit. Here is the crucial second move. Yeah. If something borrows existence from Brahman, it must be other than Brahman in some sense. If it is Brahman, then it has own existence. It need not borrow. If it's something other than Brahman, then it must be something other than consciousness. It becomes an object to consciousness. Something other than Brahman is other than consciousness. Something other than consciousness is an object to consciousness. In other words, the Sanskrit word jada. Okay. Now see, it makes perfect sense. Sureshwara says, look around. Yes, we are looking around. Notice things are born and they die. Yeah, obviously. Produced and destroyed. Obviously. Then they do not have intrinsic existence. Okay. On the analogy of fire and heat, they don't have intrinsic existence. Therefore, they are borrowing existence. They are borrowing from Brahman. That which has borrowed existence, another name for that is mithya, false. Borrowed existence in Vedanta, another name is mithya, falsity. Also, borrowed existence means it is other than Brahman. Other than Brahman, other than consciousness. Therefore, jada, object, insentient. Now you may say it makes sense. Ksharanasheshu jada asatkalpeshu. Impermanent, object, false. Do you see the logical chain here? But the heavy duty work going on, heavy lifting going on underneath, logical. Existence is a property or not? We'll discuss it later. We don't have time for that now. So, what is the conclusion? Having done all of this heavy work, he says, the world is an appearance which borrows existence from Brahman and which is an object which does not have consciousness of its own. It's an object. Therefore, in the world, in the universe, of the universe, there is no existence which belongs to the universe, there is no consciousness which belongs to the universe. But borrowing of Brahman is basically saying the existence and consciousness which we find here is just Brahman. Is the existence and consciousness of Brahman. The third verse. Atma satta eva satta esham bhavanam. Of all existent, so-called existent things, their existence is the existence of Atman, of Brahman. And na tato adhika. There is nothing, no extra existence here. There is no Brahman's existence plus world's existence, as the dualists would have it. And consciousness, tathaiva spuranam chaesha, na atma spuranato adhikam. The consciousness, the conscious experiences we are having here is all the awareness, it's all Atmans. It is Brahman, it is Atman. It does not belong to the world. It appears in the world, it does not belong to the world. That's all. And I'll just skip over, more such subtle reasoning is given there, but I'll go to the 7th verse. Very nicely he says, Ghatadikani karyani vishramyanti mridadishu vishvam prakasha bhinnatvad vishramye tat parameshware. Very beautifully put. He says, all products such as pots rest in their causes such as clay. So the universe as one with the light must rest in the Supreme Lord. The product, pot, if you ask the question, where is it resting? It's on the table like this. No, that's not what I mean. Where is its reality? Where is it sitting down? Kahan baitha hai wo? It's sitting down in its cause, in its material cause, in clay. It's a strange way of thinking. The pot is sitting in clay. But it makes sense once you get the hang of it. This table is sitting where? You'll say on the stage. No, it's sitting in the wood. The wood is the reality on which the table is grounded. Without the wood, the table would disappear. You can't say, I'll keep the wood, you take the table. No table. Similarly, this universe is nothing but light shining. The pots which are made of clay come to rest in clay alone. The universe which is light shining rests in light alone. Or he says, instead of light, it says in the Supreme Lord, Parameshwara, in Dakshinamurti. Who is of the nature of light? Who is light? Light means consciousness. Yeah, that's it. But very poetically and brilliantly said. Of Manasollasa, Sureshwara commentary on the third verse of Shankaracharya's Dakshinamurti. Dakshinamurti Stotra, third verse. Sureshwara has written many, many verses on this. We just read the first, second, third and seventh verses of Sureshwaracharya's Manasollasa. All right. Now let's move ahead. All this was a summary of the second verse. So this is we are reading about the first line of the third verse, which just basically summarizes the second verse. What did it say again? Coming back to the gist which I gave at the beginning of all this convoluted reasoning. The gist is, it's not a reflection. It's not fire coming into contact with iron balls or city being reflected in a mirror, lake, forest being reflected in the lake. All those examples have their problems, like all examples do. All Vedanta is trying to say is Brahman is appearing as the world. Where, if you ask, where did existence come into the world from? From Brahman. It's Brahman's existence. It's not a reflection, it's not contact, nothing like that. It's Brahman's existence. Just like the so-called seeming existence of the snake is the rope's existence. The existence here in the world which we see is Brahman's. You are experiencing Brahman. Congratulations. Consciousness is Brahman's consciousness. Brahman's consciousness means Brahman is consciousness. Congratulations. So, Satta Spurana, existence shining. Now, the heart of this verse starts. Sakshat tattvamasi iti veda vachasa yo bodhayatyashritan. Dakshinamurti as a guru, bodhayati, illumines, enlightens. Whom? Not everybody. Ashritan, those who have taken refuge. The Guru illumines the disciples, those who have taken refuge in the Guru. That means qualified disciple. It's implied here. Who is the qualified disciple? Sadhana chatushtaya sampanno pramata adhikari. The seeker, the knower, who has the fourfold qualifications is the qualified disciple. Fourfold qualifications, we are all Vedanta veterans here, we know. First one, Viveka. Then second, Viveka is discernment between eternal and non-eternal. Vairagya. Vairagya means dispassion and renunciation. Somebody put it very beautifully. A very practical sign of renunciation. When you find no connection at all between what you want and what you are doing, then Vairagya started. So you have a high goal in life and you see what I am doing in life has no connection with that. Then Vairagya starts with what you are doing. And then you change your life to match that goal. Second one. Third, Shat Sampatti, six are packed in there. In number three, 6 are packed in, 6 disciplines. Shamaha, quietude of mind and senses, quietude of mind. Damaha, control of the senses. Then Uparati, turning inwards, a kind of disengagement with society. Not too much of involvement with society. You can either become disengaged in an utter way by becoming a monk formally, or as much as possible, so that your emphasis does not lie on society. Emphasis lies on your spiritual life. That's important, Uparati. Then, Samadhana, stay. Focus. Stay with the spiritual path. Not a part-time thing, it becomes your focus, the focus of your time and energy as much as possible. Then Titiksha, a toughness, a spiritual fortitude, that no matter whatever problems the world throws at me, my own body throws at me, all problems, in spite of that, I will power through. I will. Was reading the life of Swami Adbhutanandaji, Latu Maharaj. And towards the later years of his life, he was living in Calcutta. At some time, he lived in a press. And somebody asked him. He would sit and meditate in the press. There were big boxes of papers and all. He would make his bed amidst them and sleep there, meditate there. And somebody would bring him food. He would eat there. And years together he lived there. And somebody asked, how do you stay here? First of all, it's tremendously noisy when the press is running. And these people are not very good people who worked the press in those days. They're rough people. He says, I have no problem at all. I get very good meditation in the midst of this. See, the slightest noise disturbs us. And he's living in, it's a demonstration for us. Sitting in the press, he's sitting in samadhi. The slightest external problem disturbs us. I was reading Swami Vijnananandaji in Allahabad, Prayagraj now. Before the ashram was established, no electricity in those days. In the tremendous heat of Prayagraj, Allahabad in those days, he would meditate 14 to 15 hours a day. No electricity. When it became too hot, he would wet a towel with water and put it on his head and then sit and meditate. Again, a demonstration to us. Noise, heat, all of these definitely are problems, but don't give too much importance to that. The waves will never be calm. If you wait for it to be calm, then I'll take a dip in the river or the ocean. It will never happen. So, titiksha, toughness. In spite of problems, I will power through. How much trouble we put up in worldly activities. So, why not for Vedanta? Then, third, and then there is sixth one. Shraddha is a strong faith in the words of Guru and the text. There is something worthwhile here. It is true. I don't realize it yet, but I will. Until that time, I hold on to it by faith. And then finally, the fourth one is mumukshutva, intense desire to be free. Sri Ramakrishna said, one condition. How will one get God realization? He would always say vyakulata, intense restlessness for God. Restlessness we have, but not for God. For the world. The world makes us restless. No. Completely placid, equanimous as far as the world is concerned, no matter what happens. Remember, Sureshwara tells us, kshananasheshu, momentary, jada, insentient, asatkalpa, practically non-existent. That's the world. Why should you let it bother you anymore? So these are the fourfold qualification. The qualified disciple comes and takes refuge in the teacher. Please teach me. And then the teacher teaches. How does the teacher teach? Veda vachasa. And not my own theory. Nowadays it's very popular that everyone comes up with their own new novel theory, realization, and own school of thought. It's the consumerist culture. Every company has to produce a new model every year. So every spiritual master has to produce a new model of enlightenment, new practices, new set of disciplines every year. Otherwise you'll be outdated, forced out of the market. No. Here it is very ancient. The most ancient of teachings. Somebody in Uttarakhand, they say that if somebody comes and says, my guru has said something which is not in Vedanta, something new, absolutely new. And then they will say, Guru ko gali kahe deta hai? Why are you abusing your guru? It's a term of abuse. The role of the guru is to transmit this knowledge, that's all. Not come up with newfangled stuff. If it helps in transmission, good. But otherwise the knowledge must be delivered and transmitted in its pristine form. Then it'll work. Veda vachasa. What kind of Vedic statement? Not everything. There are many, many things in Vedas. The whole essence of the Vedas. What is that? He says, Tattvamasi. You are that. This is in the Vedas. Where is it? In the Upanishads. Where in the Upanishads? In Chandogya Upanishad. Where in Chandogya Upanishad? 6th chapter. Shvetaketu's father tells him, you are that. Not once, not twice, not thrice, 9 times. So 9 times in the 6th chapter of the Chandogya Upanishad of the Samaveda. Chandogya is in Samaveda? Check it. Why did I get a doubt? Yes. Tattvamasi. Yes. Right. It's Samaveda. So in there you find 9 times it is said, that Vedic statement, Tattvam Asi. And then the realization comes directly, Sakshat. Sakshat means directly. How directly? Like remember the story of the 10th man? That when the person said, I can't find the 10th person, and the you know the story. And then this wise man turned his hand around and said, you are the 10th. You counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Where's the 10th person? You are the 10th. Those words, you are the 10th, thou art the 10th, directly revealed to him that I am the 10th person, which seemed to be hidden because he was counting only the 9. Those words are enough to directly illumine him. These words, Tattvamasi, directly enough to illumine this person. Now let me draw a little bit of what we have done so far to see what Tattvamasi does. You are that, Tattvamasi. There's a mic here. I can use this mic? Yes, Is it on? It's on. It's on now. Okay. All right. So we are going to draw the universe. It's a big job, but here is consciousness. And here is the universe. The two sides. The microcosm and Tat, the macrocosm. And we have 3 levels. One is gross, one is subtle, one is causal. Sthula, sukshma, karana, gross, subtle, causal. And this is waking. Another way of looking at it is waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. Another way of looking at it is the seed, the sprout, and the tree. You know, the seed and the sprout and the tree. 3 levels. At the individual level, this is called in Sanskrit the other way around. Pragya. Then Taijasa. Then Vishwa. This is called Virat, Hiranyagarbha, Ishvara. This has the adjunct of Maya. This is adjunct of cosmic mind. And universe, the cosmos, the physical universe. Here the adjuncts are avidya or ignorance, mind, body. All right. So what's all this? From consciousness through Maya, consciousness itself appears as space and air and fire and water and earth. And from that are formed the material universe. So the formation of the material universe undergoes 3 stages. There is a seed state called the causal state. What is it? It's Maya. And consciousness with Maya is called Ishvara. That's the Sanskrit word for God. So this is the Vedantic idea of God. This consciousness, this Brahman, this lake, the mirror, with the power of Maya is called Ishvara. The lake with the capacity to reflect becomes Ishvara. The lake itself is the reality. This one. So it is the seed state. From the seed state comes all this universe. The subtle elements come forming the cosmic mind. It's already there in the seed state. Remember, like the sprout, there was a sprout which is in the seed. We just read, Bijasya antariva ankuro jagadidam prag nirvikalpa punah. We read in the second. What happened? That's the reflection. Yes. So, from Maya emerges the cosmic mind. At that state, this consciousness, which is associated with Ishvara, it appears as Hiranyagarbha, that state itself. And in our individual level, this consciousness associated with ignorance, which is a part of Maya, which is one of the effects of Maya, which veils, this ignorance veils consciousness. Consciousness with one speck of ignorance, let us say. I'm sort of oversimplifying Vedanta. Is individual beings like each of us. That's our deep sleep experience. To understand this, think about our deep sleep experience. You or I in deep sleep. We don't experience a world, we don't experience our bodies, we don't experience mind and dreams, just blank. That's this. And when it comes to the level of the cosmic mind, it's equivalent to our individual dream state. We don't see a physical universe. We all just see a projected internal universe within the mind. Each mind, consciousness shining upon each mind, experiences different dreams. Why different dreams? Because each mind has different contents. It projects different dreams. So it becomes the dreamer. Here is the sleeper. You are the sleeper. You are now the dreamer. And then when we wake up into this cosmos, physical world, which is already produced, we wake up, we have a body, and we have a mind, and we are consciousness too, and we have a causal body, the seed state, plus the mind, plus this physical body. And then we experience a physical universe. Who? We means who? I, the same consciousness. In millions of bodies, minds, and ignorances, millions of physical body, subtle body, causal body, millions and millions. I, the one consciousness, appear to be many. Krishna says in the Gita, avibhaktam cha bhuteshu, vibhaktam iva cha sthitam. Undivided in millions of bodies and minds, exists and acts as if divided. We are all one being, one consciousness. But right here, Shankaracharya himself will say, Shishyacharya, and the duality of teacher and student, the dualities, all our relations, as if we are all different from each other. But Vedanta says, no, we are one consciousness. And that oneness of consciousness if you take the entire universe and all our minds and all our causal bodies are part of Maya. Consciousness in association with Maya is called Ishvara. Consciousness in association with the cosmic mind. Think about a universe-wide like worldwide net we say, www. So universe-wide network of all minds. If consciousness were associated with all minds, with access to all our memories, our thoughts, so God knows everything, every little bit. Our conscious thoughts and our subconscious tendencies, everything is known to God. That cosmic mind, imagine what it would be like. Not just human beings, all animals and plants and whatever, and gods in the heavens, all of them put together. This cosmic mind. Cosmic mind is not Hiranyagarbha. Consciousness associated with cosmic mind is Hiranyagarbha. Then the cosmic body. God in association with all of our bodies and all living beings and all those plants and animals out there. This God, and in association with the physical universe. So this one tremendous being, there is a unity in that. The whole universe as the body of God, that is Virat, the vast. That's what Arjuna saw in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna wanted to see that. He says, I know all the theory, but can I see you as the universe? But you are, remember what are we discussing here? Tat, that. That, we are experiencing that. But we don't experience it as one being. If you experience it as one being, you are seeing the physical, but God in the physical body. And Krishna said, all right, if you want to see it. So what did Arjuna see? He got very scared. He wanted it so much. He asked again and again for it. But when he saw it, he was scared out of his wits. His first prayer was, stop. Go back to your peaceful form. Your Saumyamurti, your lovable form. Not this terror. Why is it a terror? I always think that it's sometimes difficult to speak to audiences. People have stage fright. Look at 100 people staring at you. You feel scared. But imagine, not 100 people, not 1,000 people, not 100,000 people, but all 8 billion human beings, and all billions of cats and dogs and mice and elephants and whales and all the beings who ever lived in the past and they will live in the future, all the dinosaurs in the museum and all of that, all of them together in one extraordinary, gigantic, mighty being stands up before you and stares down at you. How will you feel? Arjuna's description is there, how he feels. He says, every hair in my body stands on its end. My feet are trembling, my hands grow cold. This giant being, which is in front of me, as if it's stepping. It's just poetic. The universe shakes with every step. Its worlds are dissolved with one stare of your eyes. So, that is Virat. And Vedanta says it's actually a fact. We don't see it. Thank God. We'd blow a fuse if we saw it. Arjuna said, stop. Swami Vivekananda, when Sri Ramakrishna touched him, his first reaction was, stop, what are you doing? I can't bear it. This is too much. So, and Sri Ramakrishna said, all right, later, it will happen later. So this is a Virat view, also known as Vishwarupa Darshan. Corresponding to that, at our level, is physical, with one body. Same consciousness with one body. And in that one body, one mind. And in that one mind, one causal body, this ignorance, the primal ignorance. So this is the Tvam. This is the Tat. Now what was said here in this second verse and the first line of the third verse is that Maya, mind, and the physical cosmos, ignorance, our individual mind and the individual body, all of these, they are appearances. Temporary, object, false. Sureshwara, courtesy Sureshwaracharya. Kshananashishu, jada, asatkalpa. Momentary, therefore object, borrowed existence, therefore false. And therefore, what the situation is now, you see, this is an amazing situation. These are appearances, this is not reality. The reality is this alone. It's like one man in Broadway show, one actor, does two roles, emperor and beggar, comes out on stage, gloriously dressed, with sword and crown and talks grand stuff. and then goes out and comes back as a tottering beggar with torn clothes and begging for food and money. Now somebody in the audience says, the emperor is the beggar. How can the emperor be the beggar? How can the emperor be the beggar? How can Ishvara be the Jiva? It's because it's not an emperor. It's not a beggar. It's an actor. Why do we call it the emperor? Because of the clothes. Because of the dialogue. Because of the role. The powers. That's why we call it the emperor. And why do we call it a beggar? Because of the clothes and the dialogue and the lack of power. This is the difference. What is the I'm just summarizing Vedanta Sara. Those who have studied Vedanta Sara, you will know. Yeah. So Vedanta Sara will tell you what is the characteristic of Ishvara, this God. By the way, this is God in Vedanta. This is God in its essence, God with cosmic mind, God with a cosmic body. In Vedanta Sara it says, what is the characteristic of God? Sarvagya, Sarveshwaratva, Sarvavyapitva, omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent, all the omnis, all powerful, all knowing, all pervasive. What is the characteristic of the Jivas? Us. Alpagya, very little knowledge. You learned something in school, mostly forgotten. You learn something here, this is also mostly forgotten. I remember once we were studying Sanskrit grammar, and we were young brahmacharis there, 30 years ago. So full of Sanskrit grammar, this and that, and breakfast table we're sitting, and the Swami in charge of the ashram, he was this big, ponderous man. And he came and said, well, boys, what are you studying? He said, Panini's grammar. And he said something in Bengali, it sounds very funny in Bengali, I'll translate. He says, Ore Baba, pratidin pada, pratidin bhala. He said, wow, Panini's grammar, learn daily, forget daily. Alpagya, we know so little. With great struggle, we learned a little more, and Swami Vivekananda says, time is up, off from the stage. Death, go. Great work, hard work, learn, breakthroughs, amazing breakthroughs in science. Then, Alzheimer's, gone. Or, next person comes and proves me completely wrong. The hallways of science are littered with the skeletons of past theories, you see. Huh? So, very little power, better not say anything at all. Alpa Shaktiman. We have so little power. We are at the mercy of the... see, why we need such environment? At the mercy of the environment. That's why we need a controlled, nice hall, temperature control, proper time, food and all of that. Huh? Why? Because we are at the mercy of the environment. Food, temperature, disease, all of these, we are at the mercy. We are so powerless. Little change in pressure, little change in temperature, little change in humidity, we die. The body will die, it will perish. So, powerless. This is the difference between beggar and emperor. And yet, the emperor is the beggar is the emperor. Only possible if it's a appearance. The subtle causal body, subtle body and gross body, these are appearances in consciousness. You say, vast forest, so beautiful, and a bare tree without any kind of leaves and all. You'll say, beautiful forest and bare tree, they are the same. What are they? It's not a forest, it's not a tree, it's water, water and water throughout. Okay, let's say fall colors forest reflected in the lake. And winter forest without any glory at all. This bare twigs and branches reflected in the lake. You'll say winter forest, fall forest, same. How? Though they look different, but it's just water, water and water. It is consciousness only, existence, consciousness, bliss. In this waters appears cosmos, Virat, Hiranyagarbha, Ishvara. In this consciousness, in this lake of this consciousness appears the little body, this fellow. Vishwa, waker, Tejas, dreamer, Pragya, deep sleeper. Who are you? We normally think, this is ignorance. Ignorance, we normally think, I am this one. Now I am the waker in this body. And yes, I have a mind, and if you say I have a causal body, I never heard of it, but anyway, if you say so, I have that. And I can understand what you mean. In dreamer I am like this, in deep sleep I am like this. And this is what I am. And everything what you're talking about is an other to me. At best I can believe this stuff and be a devotee of God. I am the devotee, this is God. But what Vedanta is telling you is, you are not the body, you are not the mind, you are not even the causal body, you are consciousness. That's what we found in verse 1. In verse 2, we explored the cosmos. And we found the cosmos is also basically this consciousness. It's an appearance in consciousness. Take a look at the lake, the reflection in the lake. Take a look at the reflection of one particular tree and realize it's not a tree, though it looks like a tree with beautiful leaves. It's water. That's this. You realize you go from one tree to the water of the lake. There you go from the entire forest in the lake to the water of the lake. It's the same water. Tat tvamasi. Tat, entire forest. Tvam, single tree. Asi, water. You are that thou art. Now let us see. There are some technical details about this mahavakya, which we shall see in the second half. Let me just talk a little bit in general about the mahavakya and then go ahead. Time is almost up. Yeah, lunch time. So let me not talk in general. Let me finish the verse. We will go talk in general about the mahavakya and the technical details in the second session. Just one more point and we will stop. Yat sakshat karanat bhavet na punara vritti bhavambo nidho. When you realize this truth, I am consciousness. When the tree realizes in the lake, realizes, I am water, I am not a tree, though I look like a tree. And the forest is also the same water. And just one more thing here. When I give the water in the lake example, you will still feel somewhere inside, the water covered by one tree is less than the water covered by the entire forest. The water covered by the entire forest is more water, and the water covered by one tree is less water. So, yeah, I am a little bit of Brahman, and God is lots of Brahman. No, that's the limitation of the lake example. Here, God is Brahman as much as you are Brahman. Rama, Krishna, Shiva, Dakshinamurti is Brahman, and you are also Brahman. I am also Brahman. Exactly same. Not part. There are no parts of Brahman. The Tat, okay. Tat and Tvam. Okay, let me just explain it here. We will go into the details in the second half. The direct meaning of Tat. The meaning of the word Tat is this. God. Ishvara, Hiranyagarbha, Virat. At its essence, causal level, Ishvara. At the subtle level, Hiranyagarbha. And at the cosmic level, manifest here as Virat. The direct meaning of Tvam is the Jiva, you, I. In our deep sleep, this one. In our dreaming state, this one. And now, this one, in the waking state. But the implied meaning, what is called the Lakshyartha, what is implied here, what they want to say. The implied meaning of Tvam, this one, is this consciousness. And the implied meaning of Tat is this consciousness. When you say, what is the direct meaning of emperor? Actor with emperor's clothes. What's the direct meaning of beggar? Actor with beggar's clothes. But what's the implied meaning of beggar and emperor? The actor, without regard to what clothes or role that person is playing. So what is the meaning of Tat? You have to ask, direct meaning or implied meaning? Saguna Brahman is Ishvara, Nirguna Brahman is the implied meaning of Tat. When you say Tat Tvamasi, you are identical with Ishvara. What it means is you are Nirguna Brahman, Ishvara is Nirguna Brahman. In that sense only you are identical. The Jiva is not identical with Ishvara. So we'll stop here and then we will pick up in the second half. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu.